Hello everyone, and welcome to Field of Geeks Special Episode, Rogue One Review.
I'm Steve.
I'm Josh.
How's it going, everybody?
Pretty good. Oh, them?
Oh, yeah, I was waiting for them to actually answer.
I'm listening.
I'm listening too. The voices in my head are saying a lot, but
Yeah.
I'm not hearing anything else.
This episode we're going to be talking about Rogue One.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to review it. We'll have some spoilers, here and there. We'll warn you, I think. We'll try.
You know what? Just let's do the spoiler alert now.
Okay, I get you.
You know, I mean, it's
hard not to.
It's hard not to with this movie. You
Right.
know, I mean, of course, it's kind of like Titanic. You kind of know the ending a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's how you got there.
Although some people are like, where's Titanic 2?
Right. Yeah. I had a friend who was like, I wonder if they're going to make a sequel to this one. He hadn't seen the movie yet. Maybe they'll just use these characters. And I had to bite my tongue. I'm just like, yeah, I wonder.
Yeah.
Probably not.
Yeah, maybe Force Ghosts or something.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I heard that too. And I was almost afraid to say that because I was like, people would be like, oh, you gave it away. Like, well, actually, 30, 40 years ago, I think they kind of gave that away, but whatever. Yeah, it was huge movie, still making tons of money. That's not shocking at all.
Crossed 200 million already, and
wow,
it's still rolling. And I'm going to see it again this weekend. You know,
I'm going to try myself.
Yeah, before I go out of town for the holidays, I was going to try to get the early morning Saturday one.
Yes,
and then poof, hit the road and see family. But
there you go.
We'll see what happens.
There you go. Be driving the car like a spaceship.
Oh yeah,
we're on a mission.
Right.
So, just to go back, when they first announced Rogue One, how excited were you about this?
I was pretty excited. I mean, knowing that they were doing a new trilogy, and then they start talking about spin-off movies and things like that, and one-shot type adventures. There's talk at some point of a Boba Fett. Han Solo, of course, is already in production, it looks like, and then Rogue One. And I was just ready. I mean, huge Star Wars fan just because I love the fun of it, and I like the, it's a great adventure, and it's a good adrenaline rush and a good ride. And as a kid my age who saw Star Wars originally in the theater,
I'm envious. That's
right?
Awesome.
And I was 8 years old, something like that, when it came out.
Wow.
And as a kid, it was the best thing ever. And so I've always been a fan, and super excited.
Did you see it? Did you see Star Wars before it was big, or I guess maybe before it came out, it was kind of getting that vibe.
There was some buzz to it and stuff,
Yeah.
and it was a big deal when it came out,
Wow.
and we saw it opening weekend when I was a kid, and so I've seen all the Star Wars on the opening weekends.
That's cool.
So it was a lot of fun, but I remember the drive-in theater. So I'm dating myself, of course, as usual.
I've been to one.
People who've listened to this show know I'm 712 years old.
Yeah.
So
hey, he's experienced. We need it.
Right. But yeah, there a couple miles down the road was a drive-in, the Skyview Drive-In in Omaha. I think it was on Fort Street or maybe Maple. But anyway, I'll never forget one time they did like a Star Wars movie, I think a Godzilla movie or something like that, double feature. And then they did it again. So they played 4 movies in a row, starting once it got dark, and they went to 4 in the morning whenever it was done.
Oh, man.
And of course, halfway through the second movie, I'm asleep. I'm a kid, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because, the whole thing was, let's go watch it. We'll see it twice in a row, each of them, No. But it was fun. Those were fun times, and
That's cool.
So then, now that the revival's happening with Star Wars, that kid in you comes back out, and you're excited for it.
Yeah, every time.
Yeah.
Every time. It's great to see, I'm a big Star Trek fan like you are.
Yes.
Fortunately, when you go see a Star Trek movie, not a lot of people are dressed in the merchandise.
Right.
Probably because it doesn't exist too much.
Right.
You gotta find it. Because, Lucas made everything out of Star Wars. 2 people in front of me had stocking hats with the Stormtrooper on it. And then I almost bought 3D glasses because they're $5.
Yeah.
And they had 3 different types. I stopped myself, luckily. There were sunglasses. Well, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love the community,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I love it all.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not just Star Wars fan. Star Trek and,
Yeah, the whole Trek versus Star Wars thing, that drives me crazy because you can like them both. I might like Trek a little bit better, but you have to consider there's so much more material out there for you to dive into than there is Star Wars material.
Right.
I mean, if Star Wars, and I know this is getting way off topic, so I'll just mention it quickly, but I think it's time for a Netflix Star Wars series. Something, whether it's who cares what time frame it's in, but you can explore that now further. And we're seeing a lot of success with Marvel and other companies that are doing that. And why not try an episodic Star Wars series?
Yeah, like that Star Wars Rebel.
Yeah,
is that what it is? Rebels or whatever?
Oh, Rebels. Yeah, on Disney.
Yeah,
and so for a quote unquote kids show, they're calling it canon. In the Star Wars universe, and I mean, one of the characters in the movie was from that kids show. So they're doing a ton of cool stuff.
Yeah, and I've even seen the scene where Darth Vader fights his old apprentice, which they didn't put that in the movies really, but man, that was powerful just by itself. She like sliced his helmet halfway. And did you ever see this?
I didn't see it, but I heard about it.
It's really good. It's really good.
Yeah, lady at work's a huge Star Wars fan. She was telling me all about that, and it's really cool.
It just makes me mad. Like, there's so much good stuff in the Clone Wars and the Rebels show. It's like, why couldn't that be our prequels?
Right.
That's what's hard about these movies is like, they're so good now.
Right.
Can we redo the prequels? Please?
Excuse me. Yeah, I tell you, I recently rewatched Attack of the Clones, and I didn't make it through.
It was hard. Yeah.
It was hard. That dialogue, the whole Anakin and Padme love build up was just the worst thing to watch. I would rather watch like two raccoons fighting each other to the death than have to maybe watch that again. But
yeah, well, and Lucas was trying, to his credit, he was trying the digital backgrounds, which don't really live up too well. Practical is always the best way to go.
I agree with that. I mean, but they're still fun to look at. Coruscant was,
yes.
I mean, some of that stuff was so sweet.
The chaser scene,
that stuff was really cool, and visually, those movies were pretty appealing.
Yeah, they're not too bad.
But I think there's just more heart to the movies when you, like in The Force Awakens, you're on actual sets. Rogue One, you're on actual sets, and it
feels more real.
It feels more real, and you can tell.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So to get into Rogue One, of course, this is a kind of a more gritty, a little bit, would you say?
Yeah, Star Wars goes dark. The kids are saying in the reviews.
Yeah.
But yeah,
don't take your kids.
And I was thinking about that too after I saw it. I'm like, how is an 8 to maybe 11-year-old, or younger even, relating to this movie? How do they feel about that? And again, spoilers are in full effect. 3, 2, 1. All right, spoiler time. So yeah, when you see the ending of this movie, you walk out. That's a risk from Disney. A huge, huge risk for Disney and the Star Wars franchise, because so much was changed as far as your typical Star Wars film. And I'm glad it happened. I thought it was a risk well paid off. For years I've wanted to see something a little bit darker in Star Wars, particularly, when you have Ewoks and Jar Jar. You almost thirst for something darker. With some substance to it, and they gave it to us.
No, like sugar coating,
right?
It's all out there. It's a war movie.
It's a war movie. Here's some insurgents, and they're trying to wreak some havoc to the big bad guy.
Yeah,
and they did it.
Yeah, it was awesome.
It was awesome, and the casting was very, very good.
It was.
Felicity Jones getting top billing. Her performance was outstanding.
It was.
She was phenomenal, and it was just good. Her acting was phenomenal, and everybody in it was great. The new droid was awesome.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm a big Donnie Yen fan. I love him from the Ip Man franchise,
which I've never seen, but I need to. Is it on Netflix?
They're on Netflix, all three of them, and I own two of them. The third one came out recently, and I haven't watched that one yet, but that guy's awesome.
Is it subtitles, I take it? Or dubbed? Bad dubbed?
I think they're dubbed, if I remember correctly. But he's a great martial artist.
Just looking at him, yeah.
Yeah, and the stories were great, and, he was Bruce Lee's teacher, that Ip Man was. And so it's a movie about him.
Oh, really? It's like a bio, sort of.
Sort of.
Oh,
so
okay.
the first movie's a little bit more closer to, I think, his life a little bit, and they kind of went on the, let's maybe elaborate a little bit more.
Yeah.
So, and I think, fiction gets a little ahead of itself, but I mean, they're very entertaining films, and it's fun to watch.
It's like best of the best 2
Right.
through 4.
Right. Bloodsport 96.
Yeah.
Jean-Claude and a Walker.
The new generation.
Yeah. I will kill you. Flatlines.
I am Villain.
Yeah.
From Expendables.
That's right.
Yeah. He actually, Donnie Yen supposedly made up a special martial art just for this movie, for his fight scenes.
He's
that's
great.
awesome.
Yeah. He's phenomenal, and it was fun to watch that character. He's blind in the movie, but and he's not a Jedi, but obviously he's force sensitive, because he was able to just take down dudes left and right.
Oh,
and,
yeah. So, he was our force guy because, there really isn't
there was no Jedi.
lightsabers. Yeah. Except for the end, which we'll get
one
to. But
amazing lightsaber scene.
Oh, my gosh. It was so good.
Yeah.
I just loved, he's got great humor.
Yeah.
When they're taking him to, I'm going to butcher this name, but Saw Gerrera.
Saul Guerrero, yep.
They're taking, his men were taking...
Jen Erso.
And also it was the Spanish dude.
Oh, Cassian Andor.
Cassian
Diego
Andor.
Luna, the actor.
Yes. When they're getting sacks over their head. And
Right.
they put it over his head. He's like, are you kidding? I'm blind.
Right. That was pretty funny.
That was good. Those moments were awesome.
Yeah.
It was just, overall was just, it was good as I thought it, was going to be. And it was really nice to see. Every character seemed to have a shine moment, and, I'd like to talk about the, one of the few controversies about this film. There's no open crawl.
Right. So you're jarred instantly.
Yeah.
Here's a Star Wars a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Star Wars. Poof.
That was so weird.
So immediately, Rogue One tests the waters and being different and separating itself from the franchise. So a lot of people were, they should have had a crawl, blah, 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 blah. I would disagree. I would almost argue, I mean, this is a standalone story. This is separate outside of the actual trilogies. I think going their own way was important, and it hits you right in the face.
Yeah,
first 30 seconds, and you're already looking at something different.
Well, besides, if they had a scroll, what would it be?
Right?
I don't think it would sum up the whole movie almost.
Right?
You couldn't have that first scene where she's a child.
Right.
It would just be Rogue One.
Yeah.
You'd have to talk about Rogue One. So I totally get it. I guess I thought Star Wars would still come by, but I understand because it's like a subtext to the title. So that was so weird. The whole audience, we were all like kind of gasped after it just begins.
Yeah.
It's like, oh,
here
I think
we go.
some people were like, oh.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. It's cool.
Yeah, but what are you going to say? Like you say, I mean, it starts off in the past and it jumps in the future.
You just can't. You'd have to scrap that past scene.
Or they just, they start explaining it, and then the last thing it says, oh, and here's a flashback for you, ... I mean, you really couldn't.
Which is another first, I believe, for Star Wars.
Yeah.
I don't think they've ever really done flashbacks
Right,
before.
and that was a pretty powerful scene to open up there, I mean, kidnapping her father, and, he was one of the engineers that builds the Death Star, and killing the mother. I mean, it was very powerful.
Yeah, it was very... Yeah, did you notice the blue milk in their kitchen?
Yes, I did. Yeah, Luke's favorite.
Yes.
I don't even know what that drink is.
It doesn't look like it would be good.
It doesn't look, no.
It tastes like Play-Doh or something.
Right. It's like the green ketchup and stuff when that came out. Like, stop.
Oh, yeah.
Please don't.
Yeah, that was that guy who plays was it Orson Krennic? He's the Imperial dude in charge of the Death Star being built.
Yeah.
Played by Ben
Mendelsohn.
Yes.
Yep.
Dark Knight Rises he was in.
Yeah.
He's really a good actor.
Oh yeah, and he pulls off the role very, very well.
He does. It's intimidating.
Yeah, and when you genuinely hate the bad guy, they've
Mission
done a nice job, right?
Yeah, right.
Cersei Lannister from Game of Thrones. I mean, these are people that nail that villain role.
Yes.
And you just love to watch them.
I liked his white fatigues and he had the cape.
Right.
It was really... And, when I first saw the trailer to this movie, I was like, I've never seen a white fatigue before, but I did watch Star Wars recently, and there's like one guy wearing a white. So I was like, okay. So that was a good poll, because I never really seen that before.
Yeah, and I don't know if those are like the Grand Admiral outfits and things like that, because I remember in the Timothy Zahn novels, Grand Admiral Thrawn wore one of those white suits. But I don't know if that was just a rank thing.
It's really cool.
But yeah, it was really cool. It was cool. It was a good visual,
And what about the Death Troopers? That's a whole new thing.
Yeah, that was a whole new thing, and sometimes they hit things, sometimes they didn't. They were pretty stormtrooper-y for me,
Yeah. Obviously, by New Hope, they're gone.
Right.
Unless they're going to insert them in again.
Right.
But I doubt they're going to do that. I'm pretty sure, well, to the eye, they're very appealing. It's kind of chrome armor. Mm-hmm. Really cool. Of course, they want to sell toys.
Yeah, of course. Right.
And there's plenty of characters to... definitely get those toys sold.
Oh, a ton, yeah.
Especially, K2 So. Is that how you say it?
I think K2 is how they're referring to him.
Yeah.
What a great droid.
Oh, man.
Probably my favorite droid.
Yeah.
And I liked BB-8 a lot, from Force Awakens.
Yeah.
But it was nice to not listen to a whiny droid like C-3PO. Now, who was great and stuff, but... his neurosis almost gets on your nerves
ready to
after
move
a while.
on,
right?
Or move back in this case, which is weird. Oh, man, it's just fantastic. It's funny because Alan Tudyk had motion capture suit for this part, and Anthony Daniels visited the set, I guess, and he was like, this is how you do it? And
he had to wear this suit.
Yeah, he's like, I forgot what he said at the time, but I know at the premiere, I saw this on like Conan. Alan was talking about this at the premiere. He asked Daniels, like, hey, after the movie, give me your notes, what you thought how I did. And he just came to him like at the after party, and he just told him, fuck you.
Wow.
Which I'm thinking it's a compliment.
Yeah, let's hope.
It was so cool. I mean, a reprogrammed Imperial droid with strength and humor.
Yeah.
Blunt humor. I mean, even though he's being dead serious, but it's just funny the delivery.
He clotheslines Felicity Jones and then says, congratulations, you're being rescued, or something like that.
Awesome. He just
whatever the line was. But it was funny.
And that went off script too. She was being rescued, and you're like, oh, okay, she's going to go with it. No, she actually she didn't care who they were. She was like, I'm on my own. Get out of my way.
Yep.
And so, because this Saw, what's his
name? Saw
again?
Gerrera, yep.
He trained her to be like a soldier, right? And then he abandoned her in her teenage years. Mm-hmm. She turned to crime, I guess. Yeah. They don't really go into that.
They don't go into it, but they do refer to it a little bit.
I guess you don't need it.
You don't need it, but, it just cements the fact that, all these characters that do come together, they have their own individual histories. None of them are probably the nicest people out there. And you saw examples of that.
Yes, you did.
Cassian's character, alone... was a little deceptive in several parts, and so it was a very gritty, realistic look at what a rebellion might look like.
Yeah, because there's gray areas, and he definitely showed the darkness of the rebels. Like when he took out the whistleblower guy, I didn't see that coming. I was seeing like, oh, let's escape together,
right?
And he's just like, it's gonna be okay. And I was like, whoa.
Holy smokes.
So immediately you're kind of judging the rebels. You're not really, you're like, oh, they really will do that. But, in war.
Right.
So that's what's nice about this. Like, these characters have a lot of depth. Yep. They're not perfect.
Right.
And
like you say, it is war. And the trilogies, they're very black and white.
Yes.
Hero, villain. And in this movie, you got to see the gray. And that was just so sweet.
It was awesome. I loved his character. He's kind of like a badass Han Solo, not to try to compare him to Han Solo, but I loved how he, kind of carried his weapon and just his whole, his whole history of, he was, ever since a child, he was, part of the Rebel Alliance, and, that's all he knew.
Right.
And that's kind of what helped him at the end when they were ready to go get the Death Star plans.
Mm-hmm. Mon Mothma.
Yeah,
Yep.
Martha.
Martha. Yeah.
Martha.
Martha. We'll just call her
Who made
Martha.
these names?
Yeah.
Lucas.
Lucas, yeah.
Anyway, she's like, oh, no, we're not gonna go for it, because weren't they all gonna just quit?
Yeah, I mean, basically, it was they wanted a unanimous decision, to vote to do it or not, and then they decided not to, and they said to hell with that. We're gonna go do it anyway.
Yeah.
And Mon Mothma secretly approved. Hence her smile at the end there,
because they were
when she found out they were leaving.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So I mean, it was one of those things where she, for political points, did what she felt was the right thing by saying, well, no, now we're not going to do it. And then, but when they went off and stole the ship and took off, yeah, she was pretty happy about that.
Yeah.
So it was good. I mean, it was a neat deal. And it, and as much as Lucas tried to insert politics weirdly in the prequels, that was a pretty neat little small display of politics.
That's how it should have been done. Not so complicated. Right. I mean, not complicated, but he was going for something that just never really seemed to get
right.
It seemed too much. Like that should have been a spinoff or something.
Yeah,
or a prelude or whatever.
Yeah, for real. And in this case, it worked really well because you didn't get to see it. They didn't overthink it. I mean, it was a true reaction. It was pretty good.
Yeah, and it was very different from, you get to see them, enhance in their techniques, because once that original trilogy kicks in, the Rebel Alliance is all for going for it. Mm-hmm. They finally got their mojo back from getting the plans.
Right.
And this, in this movie, they're opposite. They're very on the end,
almost conservative in their approach to how they rebel. And,
right.
And yeah, I mean, I think the events of this movie kind of tells Mon Mothma and the rebellion, you know what, you're going to have to go for it. You have to take the risks. Risk and reward,
Absolutely.
And this movie was certainly risk.
Yeah, and I have a few complaints, but it's just nitpicking. I wish the team itself kind of was given the mission in a way, because the trailer acted like they brought Jin in and they're like, hey, we have a mission for you.
Yeah.
Although it's a different mission which I'm trying to follow. It's to get to Saw Gerrera. I can't say these names.
Yep.
Anyway, it's to get to him, and they want to interrogate him or kill him? What was the...
He used to be a rebel, and then he became too extreme for them, and so it was up to her to try to find out information from him, and however she did it was however she did it, and
right.
It was...
they're trying to find her father.
And so the rebels didn't care how she got that information, and so... but the history between that character and Saw Gerrera was, enough that, it was, it worked.
Absolutely.
And he ends up biting it right then and there, and so Forrest Whitaker's gone halfway through the movie.
Yeah.
And that was
kind of shocking.
That was kind of your first taste of, all right, well, they're going to establish someone and they're not afraid to get rid of him.
Yeah. Poor guy. He had a lower version of Darth Vader's breathing.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, he did a pretty good job. I think some people probably didn't like his voice, but it was all right. He's an Oscar winner. He's gonna freaking act,
Yeah.
And, I did like. I think it's Riz Ahmed.
Yeah,
he's the Imperial pilot turned
TIE fighter pilot. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
That was really neat. It's like there's a lot of that in this movie. A lot of people are trying to make it good on some of their. Things they did in their life they weren't too happy with. Especially
and they didn't trust him at first at all.
No, and they had every right. Especially, it was Donnie Yen's character's friend, Wen Jiang, the dude with the big repulsor rifle.
The big gun.
Yeah, and he saw the pilot in the jail cell. He was trying to go for him.
Yeah, that was great. He's a good actor, that kid. He was in that HBO show, and I can't remember what it was called, but it was a series where, he goes out one night, he drinks, the girl he kind of stays the night with, he wakes up and she's dead, and there's blood everywhere. Whoa. He doesn't remember anything. And so then he gets arrested, and they go through this whole thing. He was just an amazing actor. So it was cool to see him in this movie, too. I mean, hopefully he's in a lot more stuff because he's got the chops to...
Obviously won't be Star Wars. But...
Probably won't be a Star Wars sequel. But yeah, unless they clone him.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Sorry, I hope I didn't give anybody ideas. Well, Lucas isn't in charge anymore, so I think we're fine.
I got some notes. Oh, that's very nice, George. Listen, I gotta go. Sorry. What'd you think about the score? It was almost like Star Wars, but it never quite got there. It was kind of subtle. Right?
What I mean? It was subtle because they did use a lot of the themes, here and there from the Star Wars movies in the past. And then they had their own, to me, I still like, even though it wasn't John Williams, I thought the score was strong enough to where it was, just like in Star Wars, part of the movie. Star Wars, all of them, without John Williams, I don't think would succeed as well as they did. And this score, I think they did a fine job. And I can't remember what this guy has scored before. I heard it the other day, and because I'm 712 years old, I forgot. But I liked it, and I did like that they used some similar callbacks, thematically from the music. That was cool.
It conveyed the title.
Yeah.
Star Wars is like a subtext to the title, so there's a little Star Wars in there, but it's not quite there yet because this is before it all.
Yep.
I think some fans are gonna have to get used to it. Personally, I am too, because it's weird to go from Force Awakens a year ago,
right?
Because that's the future, and now you have this. People are already getting cross-eyed, like, where are we?
Right. And a Star Wars fan handles this a lot easier than your casual, person that goes into it, because they just get all confused. And so this is before which one, and
get out.
Right. Stop. I'm not having this conversation.
Better yet, go get me some popcorn.
Right.
I don't want to get up.
Don't worry about it. Yeah.
That was one of the things, like, every time I want to see a movie like this big, like, I do not want to leave.
No.
I have to stay.
Everybody in my row got up at least 17 times, it felt like. And as I'm watching the movie, my row and the row ahead of me, I didn't see people leave anywhere else in the theater but these two rows, and I'm on the end because I like the end.
I agree.
Because I'm paranoid, and that way if I want to just leave, I can. But it was really aggravating. But it was no big deal.
Should have like force choked them.
Yeah, if I had, or use a force push, because we were like halfway up, they could have gone flying.
Take your bladder and just shrink it or expand it, whatever.
Right.
Well, now that I brought that up, we can talk Vader.
Oh,
man.
So what was probably, the first appearance of Vader. So he's in the back to tank, and you only get a glimpse. They're not really showing too much. It's from a distance. He comes out, it's James Earl Jones. He's walking, the door opens, there's Darth Vader. I was geeking out pretty good right there,
awesome.
And then James Earl Jones' voice booms in. And some people don't like the last part of that scene.
Yeah.
Where he uses the choke pun, don't choke on your aspirations, or whatever he said.
Yeah, that's what he said. Yeah.
Okay, was that the right line? Okay.
I think so, yeah.
And that's after force choking, our main bad guy. I didn't mind it because it wasn't over the top. It wasn't like a Sylvester Stallone Cobra line, or something like that. But it was, to me, it was less him trying to be, tongue-in-cheek funny and more just, this is what I can do to you.
Right.
I took it less as a humor line, and I took it more like there's more of this where it came from.
Right. I mean, that's nitpicking.
Yeah.
That honestly, I was a little like, ooh, but then I was like, I forgive it. It's not bad.
Right.
It's really not bad. It's
I think it's in the interpretation. I mean,
right.
If you look at it like it's supposed to be a funny thing, then yeah, it is cringeworthy.
Like for me,
right.
Just the sound. When he's using the force,
right.
and then that
low voice, that low sound,
the Orson trying to breathe,
right?
That alone conveys that is enough. Yeah. But I get it; they're trying to also bring in new people too, because some people haven't seen the first Star Wars.
Yeah,
so to them, that's totally cool,
right? And the guy, he asked the question, so am I still in charge? I mean, because Vader let him live,
right?
So he was confused. He wanted to know, and then Vader responded with that, which to me was less of a joke and more of a threat.
Yeah, pretty much.
It was
pretty much.
So it was cool. And then we fast forward, 2 hours into the movie plus, we get to see our very first lightsaber scene. I have always wanted to see this scene since I was probably a teenager.
Yes.
So by the time Return of the Jedi hit, I was thinking to myself, I'm like, well, what if they did go darker? What if they went, I mean, there's violence, but there's not violence. This was violence.
Oh.
Vader,
Awesome.
a combination of the lightsaber and using the Force to choke, throw, push. Yeah, that was, to me, maybe one of the most iconic Star Wars scenes.
It's weird to cheer for that scene, because he's taking out the good
You're
guys.
not supposed to.
You're not, but oh my god.
But cinematically,
Yes.
and knowing what the character is at that stage in his life,
It's badass.
it was amazing.
Oof.
He was absolutely, and pardon the pun here, but he was a force to be reckoned with.
Right.
He was no joke.
Right.
And this movie showed what the dark side's capable of.
Yeah, I just those rebel soldiers get in that room and it's dark, and you kind of know something's coming.
Yeah.
And then you hear the breathing, and then the lightsaber lights
Yeah.
up, and it's like, oh my god, this is awesome.
Right.
Oh, I just loved how he like grabbed that guy, pushed him up
Up to the ceiling,
Force.
and yeah.
And then when the dude had the plans, that was so beautifully shot.
Yeah.
Because he's trying to get it through the door.
Yeah.
And all these people are running by, and he's like, somebody.
There's chaos all
yeah.
over.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
People just losing it, And then the minute he hands it off, right through the chest, out the door, lightsaber.
Yeah.
Like,
He was dead,
Oh, it was awesome.
Yeah, he just...
In a good way.
it was,
Poor guy.
and-
I
right.
hope his family's all right.
Yeah. Hope his fictional family, we feel bad.
Maybe it healed.
Right.
It's a stretch.
But the whole thing was that's what I wanted out of Rogue One, and the whole movie, all movie long, I got what I wanted to see in a Star Wars movie. Because as much as I like the fun and the adventure and the whole old serial style approach to movies,
which Lucas borrowed from, I believe,
Yeah.
with the crawl and all that. Yeah,
he did all that stuff from
the 30s
influences
or
in 30s and 40s, and which was super cool. It was a great
he brought it
throwback.
back.
He brought it back to a time that no one remembered almost.
Right.
So that part of it is fun and it's great, but this was a big giant risk for Disney, and the fact that they kill off every main character. That's not Disney.
Even the droid.
Even
you're
the
like, the
droid
will
is
Nope.
dead.
He went out like a... Oh, man, he was awesome.
Have you ever heard of Aeronauts? They do a YouTube. They have a YouTube channel, and they do a lot of Star Wars spoof. And so they have Kylo Ren, who does reaction videos to the first and second trailer. And then I just watched today over lunch Kylo Ren's movie review. And they basically take the stills or the shots of him sitting down in The Force Awakens, and it's just his helmet, and obviously they're doing the voice, and it sounds exactly like Kylo Ren. And he's talking about how they wouldn't have succeeded if it wasn't for an Imperial-made droid.
Yeah.
I'll send you the link to it.
I'll check that out.
It was a riot, and
that's awesome.
so, but yeah, he was an Imperial-made droid.
Fortunately,
he was
he's right,
reprogrammed. Yeah, exactly. They never would have done that without an Imperial-made droid. And it was great, and it was a great scene. Even his death as a droid.
It's like you knew it was coming, but it's like, oh, it's finally here.
Right.
No.
It was very poignant. It was he did that droid. Breathed new life into droids for me as far as Star Wars goes, and
it's the anti-wuss droid that we've come accustomed to.
Right, this guy he hitting people on the top of the head and they're just done. He's
a baller.
He was great.
Yeah.
And even so, earlier in the movie when he said he would protect her, and you're thinking, oh wow, that's great. Because I was told to, it was just, there was so many cool things.
I like when she, when they first went on their first mission out of 3 missions, pretty much. He was, that's the first time you get introduced to him. And right off the bat, you're like, oh, this guy's a hoot. This is awesome. It's my new favorite droid.
Right.
I want to buy the figure, all that stuff. She has a gun. He's trying to tell Cassian, like, you know what the chances are of her using that against us?
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't want to hear it or whatever. And he's like, all right.
Yeah.
But it's high.
Yeah, exactly.
And he wanted a gun too.
Yeah.
He's like, I never get a gun.
He finally got one in the end.
Yeah.
And he used it well.
Yeah.
He
did. Oh, it was so funny.
Yeah.
He's like, boom, 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 boom,
Right.
boom. And then not even looking, he's like, boom.
Yeah, got him.
That was so cool.
Yeah, it was. He was a better shot than any stormtrooper I've ever seen. It was pretty sweet.
I love the ship they were in. You know,
Yeah.
the seats were like off the ground.
That was really cool.
Hovering. You didn't get. I mean, you saw like a glimpse of it. They didn't obviously go into all the mechanics and all that, but you know, just back up a lot. I guess I wanted to talk about. You know, although we didn't get the opening crawl, we did get kind of a like the flashback itself was a prelude to the movie,
right?
And then once Jen is rescued by Saw, you know, he opens the door, and I don't know what come here, child, whatever he said. You know, he couldn't hardly breathe, poor guy. But then we get Rogue One. You know, big on the screen, and then it goes out. So, like, did you enjoy that?
Yeah, I thought that was pretty visually sweet. You know, and I thought that whole opening segment and scene, you know, with her as a child was amazing. You know, and they show, you know, every movie's got ice, sand, or something. You know, and in this one. You know, you had a lot of different locations.
It's like coal or something, wasn't it?
It was really, I mean, looked like a mining type place, and it was just a really cool shot, you know, cinematically, or I should say, I don't know what I'm trying to say. The cinematography there was great, and it was really neat, and I liked how they named the planets, and they. You know, on screen, you know, it's you know, they'd say the name of the planet, and they've never done that before.
Right, because we're going to so many of them,
right?
You know, I still got confused, but still,
but it was neat that they did that sort of
thing. That was neat, yeah.
And so the different locations and stuff, but yeah, that Rogue One, boom, in your face and then out, and it was really cool.
I was like, this is different, but I dig it.
Yeah, it was neat.
You know, Mads Mikkelsen was excellent as her father, and he, you know, he gave her a nickname Stardust, which came to play later when they were getting the plans, and you know, just Felicity Jones' reaction to his hologram. That was the most emotion she conveyed to him, because you know, when he was killed by the rebels, which that was a powerful scene. We never really seen that before, where you know, Orson comes down to that planet where they're not really working on a Death Star at that point. They're just doing some other stuff, but he brings the scientist out, and, you know, basically one of them squealed, they know of, and, you know, he kind of he was really late to tell he did it. I mean, they about ready to kill these guys, and of course they did anyway.
Right.
But yeah, that was...
he fesses up.
And, that was very powerful. And of course, you know, Cassian was going to kill him, her father, and... It was really, really interesting. Like, they still had a great scene, but it was really cool how she could convey that much emotion to something that wasn't there, the hologram. And yeah, it was.
Yeah, she knocked it out of the park. The entire role.
That's going to be the key to these spinoffs, and you know, any Star Wars movie going forward, which they have done. Force Awakens, good actors, really good actors. You know, they're really bringing it, and the dialogue's good.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I think the actors in the prequels. Probably, obviously, was it Ewan McGregor?
Yeah.
Great. I'd love to see him as Obi-Wan still.
He was the shining light of those prequels, you know? I mean, he actually had life in his character, you know, and that's all Ewan McGregor. You know? He was awesome. And I love the callback to the I have a bad feeling about this line. Where the droid says it, and before he could finish it, they're like, "Stop!" You know, I mean, they interrupt him. That was a good little bit of humor there.
Don't need to tell me,
right? Yeah, because they've said that in every movie, and so that was a cool little. It was a cool moment.
And of course, Jimmy Smits. They're basically only linked to the prequels,
right?
Lightly,
Bail Organa, you know, is back, and Jimmy Smits was in the character, and. Which I thought was great, because that was a great way to connect the prequel era with the quote unquote future, and you know, it was and you know, that's the last time you're going to see him on screen, because you know he dies in Alderaan.
I know. I think a lot of people were hoping I was included. You know, they were like, oh, maybe he you know, got sidetracked. And I loved how they were referring to Leia without saying her name. See, that's what I like about the callbacks. They're not like. Boom, like, you know, like the prequels did.
Right.
Here's C-3PO and R2-D. Like, can we just meet these guys in Star Wars? Why we gotta, you know, stop? Give us new stuff like this movie did with the droid.
And the callbacks weren't too in your face, and they weren't heavy. You know, I mean, they run into the two guys on the street that were in Star Wars, the ugly guy in Walrus Face.
That was kind of
names.
yeah.
You know, and my only complaint of the movie was that, because it's like, all right, so that city blows up just a little while later. I'm assuming they got off
these
the
knuckleheads somehow
and went to Tatooine, picking fights all across the galaxy. Apparently,
right?
You know,
yeah, which had to be very soon,
right? You know,
I got confused by that because I lost track at the end. So much was going on.
Yeah,
I want to see it again just so I can kind of get
internalize the time frame.
Yeah. But yeah, they must have been on their way out when they bumped into each other. You know, I think that's probably the most, and of course the choke on your aspirations, but the whole Leia thing was awesome because he was basically saying, I'm gonna give her the plans. I trust her with my life. That was awesome. I think that was his last line as he left. And you know, I just love how that, to me, that's better writing. Yeah. You know, not so over the top. And that way, when you see Star Wars, the episode 4, right?
Yep.
I'm all over the place.
Goes into A New Hope. Yep.
Right. You meet her.
Yeah.
You don't already know her, really.
Right.
Of course, at the end of this movie, which I do want to back up first because we're talking about CG digital people.
Right. Tarkin.
Yes. Now, mixed reactions, myself included. What did you think?
Myself included. So, I thought when they had the closer shots to his face, I could tell it was CGI. The more distance shots that you saw him in, you know, it was like, it looked great, you know. And the CGI, even when they were up close, it never did look terrible. Some people are saying that, you know, well, geez, where's the ethics of bringing back a dead actor and all this?
We're not cloning him.
Right? You know, so just knock it off.
I'm sure his family got paid for it.
Right. And other complaints were his voice. It didn't sound like him too much. And then someone's
he's dead.
Well, yeah. And then somebody was like, well, he was a little younger then. I'm like,
oh my God.
You mean 15 minutes younger?
Yeah.
Because, you know, minutes later, Star Wars starts.
Right.
You know, he wasn't younger. So, I didn't mind it, but it didn't blow me away. I thought the Leia CGI was better.
I agree.
Than the Tarkin. But at the same time, you know, I mean, they had people motion cap that stuff. You know, I mean, the movements didn't look bad. It wasn't anything like that, but it was, it wasn't the best and it wasn't the worst.
Yeah, I remember when they first show him, his back's to you.
Yeah.
His reflection. That was good enough for me.
Right.
Obviously, you know, he had more scenes than he did in the original Star Wars movie. So that's really ballsy to do that, especially to somebody who's not here anymore.
Right. And he was a very important character, you
Yeah.
know, as far as the in the Empire. You know, he was Grand Moff. That's a very huge title, you know, that they assigned to people. And so it made sense to include him and all that stuff. But it was... yeah, it was, I don't know. I want to see it again.
Yeah, me too.
And just to see.
I've talked to people who didn't really know.
Yeah.
He was, you know, a person that passed away decades ago.
Right.
So I think to them, they didn't really pick up on it. I'm kind of a movie snob a little bit.
Sure.
You know, obviously I enjoyed it, but the minute he started turning around, I'm like, oh, well, don't turn around all the way. Okay, here we are. The eyes look too big to me. I don't know why, but... I think they know how to measure, so maybe it's something else. You can just tell it looks great, but
it does look great, but you could tell.
Right. It's not Tron Legacy bad, which that was at first time a good step up.
Yeah.
Like eventually they're going to get it right.
Yeah.
I mean, look at what Marvel's done with Robert Downey Jr.
Oh yeah. The Hulk.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
you know?
Which is really hard. A green guy is huge. Michael Douglas, they've pulled him off, but of course those people are still alive, so I think they were able to help on top of a model.
Right.
But the funny thing is those scenes in those Marvel movies had like more light to them.
Yeah.
You know, the Tarkin was in darkness most of the time. I mean, I'm nitpicking, obviously.
Sure.
I forgive it.
But the contrast of it, you're right, and the darkness and that sort of thing, it does make it way more noticeable. And
yeah, it's like, if you could get it right in the light, why you must not be able to get it quite there yet? Because Leia was in the light, obviously. She went all white, and she was in the bridge, and it was all lit up, and that didn't look that bad, really. I don't know if Carrie Fisher modeled any of that. Obviously, she doesn't really look like that anymore.
Right.
So I wonder if she did the lines. Of course, she doesn't sound like herself anymore.
Yeah, I don't think she did the lines, and I know that it was a different actress that did the actual mocap for it,
And again, we didn't need to see her face. I'm okay with it. It looked a lot better.
Right.
But just to see her back,
like
if they would, that guy would have ran in there with the plans. You saw her back, the door shuts. That's all I needed. But of course, she had the great line at the end.
Right.
Hope.
Right.
That was cool. That's what this movie really does well. It's a good movie overall.
Yeah.
But it beautifully connects to A New Hope.
Yeah.
It's like if you look at episode 3 to A New Hope, this to me is a puzzle piece right before New Hope.
Right.
We still have gaps to fill with the Han Solos and whatever else, but
and Hope was the theme, and A New Hope is aptly titled now because Rogue One gave them hope.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
How that worked out. Yeah, because I've seen it made me want to see the original right away. Of course, it was late, and I'm like, I gotta work tomorrow.
Right.
Can't be stupid. But it really connects it now. It's so cool to see, like, we've got these plans, and you're like, I know how they got the plans now. It's just, they need to do more of that, connecting make the whole universe big, too. Not just about the Skywalkers, which are great, but, if you're trying to make the universe big, you really got to stretch it out. And these were new characters.
Right.
And they weren't with us too long.
With a lot of new locations. And, yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, it was really neat to see more of the Empire. Oh, man, let's talk about the... it's not... who's... I'm going to go to hell for this probably, but who's the dude in the Return of the Jedi? He also made an appearance in Force Awakens, Admiral Akbar. Yeah. Okay, his species, there's a commander. I wonder if all commanders have to be the species or something in the chair. It's not him, right? It's somebody else.
Right.
I love when he orders a Hammerhead Corvette.
Yeah.
And I guess that's a callback to the Clone Wars cartoon series or something. But at first I thought that was a reference to Lucas, because he used to be a sports car nut until he got in an accident, and that's how he got into filmmaking. So I was like, I wonder if that's that too. Right. But how they took that ship and they rammed it into the Imperial ship.
Oh, man.
And I was so badass. They're like, hang on. Yeah. And then they floor the engines, and then they just push the ship over.
It was like an outer space pit maneuver, Yeah. It was amazing.
Those space battles were fantastic.
The space battles were amazing, and then seeing those two Star Destroyers collide and go down into the shield, and
that was awesome.
Oh my gosh. I mean, that was just breathtaking.
That was fantastic. But yeah, the Tarkin, going back to that, of course, wrap that up. I had mixed feelings about it. Second viewing might be better.
We'll see.
I forgive it. I get it. I still can enjoy the movie. Less is more, in my opinion. But, I thought it was still cool. And also, to go back to Vader, I loved how they gave him the red lenses and made his suit a little dull because they're matching up to the New Hope.
Looks just like he did in the original.
Glossy and beautiful. Right. Even though Episode 3 screwed that up because how he was made. So maybe he was like, oh, I don't deserve to look this pretty. I don't know. But
or it was just worn by that time.
True. That's true. Yeah.
Because a lot of time passed then.
That's true. I did have a friend who saw it, and he was like, yeah, Darth Vader's costume didn't look quite right. I'm like, well, they're trying to match it. That's just cool how people are like, ugh. Yeah. But I love the red lenses. I almost wish they keep them, but obviously canon you can't unless you go backwards. Right. Which, if we get a Vader movie, would you like to see that?
I'd be first in line. It would be amazing.
Just that fight scene alone.
Just that fight scene. I mean, you can do so much more with what they've ever shown with the Force, and
oh, absolutely.
Video games explored a lot of that stuff, and there's so many cool things that you just haven't seen on screen. And so to see Vader do what he did in that movie on screen finally, I think, your casual fans are like, oh my gosh, this guy is he's horrible, and
I'm scared, let me out.
Exactly.
I don't want to be in here with these guys.
Right. There was no Anakin there. I mean, that was all Darth Vader,
no,
and so
not the no Vader. This is like, oh my gosh, badass.
And so it even makes, to me, the Return of the Jedi Vader turn even better. Because he went from so far down to the dark side path, where he's just laying waste to people in a little small corridor, to finally turning good again, killing the Emperor. I mean, it even makes Vader's character that much more fleshed out in that small amount of time we got to see him, and so that, and I think how they connect that and they weave that into the other movies, it was very brilliant. I thought it was great
because he was very pissed at the beginning of New Hope, and you know why now, because the plans just got away. They grabbed the ship. I don't know how much time. I mean, I guess minutes, but I take it that Leia's ship.
Yeah, they said like 15 minutes or something, between or Rogue One and A New Hope.
So is Tatooine like right by this planet?
It must be close by, or at least close enough, that out of hyperspace, they come into this fight and, they're trying to get away from the, Star Destroyer.
I mean, that's smart writing. Yeah. They matched up his attitude right when you see him, because in the other movies, the original trilogy, he's calm and collected kind of, and he does get that way in the first one. But when minute those doors open on Leia's ship, he's pissed.
Yeah.
He even breaks that guy's neck as he's interrogating him. Yeah. And for that time, that's still a jarring sound effect. It's like,
it was awesome.
Whoa.
Yeah.
They weren't messing around.
They weren't at all. They were not playing.
No, they were not. But yeah, it was a great ride, you know, and I enjoyed every second of it. And yeah, was there any other things you wanted to talk about?
A couple of the X-Wing pilots.
Yes, how could I forget that? Yeah. Oh my gosh.
That was pretty slick.
That was awesome.
Making them look just like they did back in Star Wars, and so you kind of got a couple little Easter eggs there. But which to me I think is going to be really cool going forward with the series, and I am interested to see how CGI continues to develop and things like that to give you what looks absolutely real. Because on that piece, I think they did a nice job.
Because a few of the pilots from Star Wars, and I don't know their names.
And I don't remember either, but they weren't CGI. They were actually from the cutting room of Star Wars, and they inserted them into Rogue One. Yeah, I mean, that was just...
How the director came upon it, it seemed like it was like fiction. He said they were looking around in the museum at Skywalker Ranch, and they found a tin, and it was cut footage from the original Star Wars movie.
And they used it.
So cool.
Yeah, so awesome.
I was trying to figure out how they did it too, because it didn't seem CGI. It seemed like it was actually them.
And it was just...
That was so cool though. Perfect matchup. And there is another Easter egg. I think it's Red 5 gets destroyed.
Yes.
Leaving that call sign open.
For Luke Skywalker.
Yes. Yep. Yes. And then I also enjoyed that Blue Squadron that I think they all perished.
Right.
But another Easter egg, which seems kind of silly, but you notice how many people had mustaches?
Oh, yeah.
They matched up to the 70s so well.
Yeah, it was cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, the whole look was great.
That thing's kind of in now, the hipster kind of look, but...
Yeah, it was pretty sweet.
So much stuff they could play with. I mean, Kevin Smith said it best, in this movie, they take all your Star Wars toys that you played with as a kid, you put them on the beach, you put them in all these locales, just like Darth Vader.
Right.
Imagine him throwing people with the Force, and they just give it to you. It's like it's a toy box.
Yeah.
The whole movie is a toy box, and it's great.
And a toy box with great writing.
Yes.
It was really good. And,
which is key.
and this is the first Star Wars movie that never uses the name Skywalker.
Yeah.
Which I thought was pretty cool too, and showing that you don't need that to carry a film. This cast carried that film, and it was really cool. The writing was great. I think all around it was a great movie.
Did you like R2-D2 and C-3PO still being in there?
I did, because it was just enough. It wasn't too much, and it was just a nice little, just a nice quick cameo. I was fine with it.
I wonder if did he say something like, "I wonder where they're going" or something?
Yeah, something like that.
When they first when Rogue One officially became Rogue One, they ran off to get the plans or something, and that's when they showed them.
Right, and that makes Anthony Daniels the only guy to be in every type of Star Wars movie so far.
True. That's true.
But pretty slick.
I just like that line Cassian said about we've been doing this since we were kids. The Rebel Alliance done a lot of bad things.
Yeah.
And, to just give up now, we wanted it to be worth it.
Right.
So that was so cool. How was their drive to do that final mission, which just was intense. I mean, they get there and they have to use the machine to get it was crazy. And how K2SO could, he was able to make the data, the Stardust data.
They found the file. It was Stardust, and
it was all lit up. It was like really cool visuals. You know, it was almost like a video game sort of.
Yeah, and it was cool that that's their filing system, and that
I want it.
Yeah, I mean, it was really cool how they did it.
Yeah, it was. And let's talk about the huge thing this movie fixed for I think many people. The the weakness of the Death Star was intentionally made by Jen's father.
Yeah.
Which, that settles most of
all the
fans.
arguments.
Yes, like, oh, why would they design it like that? Yeah. It was just so cool.
It was, and that just shows you insurgency from the inside, and that's why it was important for them to get the plans back and to make sure they couldn't exploit it. So it was they weaved it in perfectly.
They did.
I mean, and that's hard to do because when you're doing that, you're really backed into a corner of what you can do, and because what happens before, what happened after, you have to try to make all that fit, and that's a daunting task, and they totally killed it.
They did.
It was fun.
Yeah, it could have been so bad.
Yeah, it could have been terrible.
But it was still probably would have made its money. But yeah, good on Disney and the director. I think his name's Gareth Edwards, I believe. He did Godzilla.
Yes,
remake.
He was the Godzilla director, and he just nailed that too. And Gareth Edwards and George Lucas told him he loved the movie, and
that's praise.
Yeah, he said that himself that was just the most important praise that he could ever receive.
It's better praise, I think, than he gave to Force Awakens.
Oh yeah, it was actually
because they're going for nostalgia,
which surprised me. Because
it's not kid friendly,
right? And right, and thinking of Lucas's preference and the way he made his movies, you would think that he would just be in love with Force Awakens, and so to hear him give that kind of praise. That was pretty sweet.
Maybe he now gets it. Like
maybe he does.
About making it.
Hindsight's 20/20.
Kids become adults, and it goes around.
And love or hate George Lucas, he did create all this for us. He did. And so,
and he's given a lot to charity, and we have.
He gets a pass for Ewoks. He gets a pass for Jar Jar. He really, truly does. I mean, the prequels, of course, had all their problems, but. It was still...
We have Skywalker sound because of him. THX.
Yeah. He brought
several things. Yeah. I guess you could count Industrial Light and Magic in a way.
ILM. I mean, look at all the movies they've touched over the years. Yes. I mean, they've done a ton.
He's done some good
they've
stuff.
worked on Star Trek stuff. I mean, so great. Yeah. I mean, it's...
They're the pinnacle. Like, if you don't use them, like, okay.
Yeah, well, roll the dice and hopefully it looks good.
Yeah, hopefully. Just to talk about the CGI motion capture faces, it's kind of interesting to bring these characters back when we're going to have a Han Solo movie with an actual actor who's not Harrison Ford.
Right.
Alden Ehrenreich, I think that's how you say his name.
Yeah.
What do you think that maybe they should have tried the technology they used for Ford?
No.
Too much, right?
I think it's too much. I mean, you're focusing on a main character, the star of the show. That's thousands of man hours from a technological perspective, to get all that
and it's
done
not,
right.
To me, it's not there enough for it.
I don't think it's there enough. Right. And you know what? I think that kid's going to pull it off. I do too. Mean, from a look perspective, he's supposed to be younger. We'll see how much younger he is than when we first met him in A New Hope. But I'm excited for it, and I like the use of CGI. I don't like the overuse
of
CGI.
Yeah.
I think that detracts and takes away, and I think they did a nice job the way they did it.
I think they've really learned. I think we needed the prequels. They especially needed them to learn to make it a little bit better, more practical.
Right.
CGI can be your friend, but you still
it can also be your worst enemy.
Yes, you still need that practical element. They still have to be hand in hand, and it's just interesting how they went through so much trouble for Tarkin instead of just recasting him.
Right.
So it's interesting how they'll do. Of course, Han Solo is going to have his own movie entirely, so I get it. Yeah. And I wouldn't really want, as much as I would love to see Ford back as young self, until it's like 100%. I'm not interested. You know? I'm sure Ford would like to have a paycheck for it. But
well, sure, but you know what? It's too much too soon, I think.
It is. Because, it's just going to eventually get into so much debate,
Right. Yeah, you don't have to pay actors anymore.
That doesn't sound like him. Yeah, because it'd be like an old Harrison Ford voice.
Yeah.
You'd be like, what the heck? So, overall, the way this movie was made, do you, I think I already know the answer to this, but do you want more of these spin-off stories to be like this, have this kind of feel?
I think, I just think it depends on the subject matter. I think your Boba Fett standalone is going to have to be a little bit more on the dark side, too.
Yes.
When you consider he's a bounty hunter, he's basically a villain. I do like the fact that with these spin-offs, they can go a different route. I think there's a very specific expectation for the actual trilogy movies. And I think with these, it's their chance to reach out, test those waters, and Rogue One proved that it works. So I'd like to see them experiment and see different types of tones in the movies.
And I would definitely want them to keep the crawl off there.
Yeah.
I think it needs to be like this exactly.
Yeah.
Do a little, prelude scene, title,
and let's roll.
I think it should just all kind of be that way.
Yeah.
And of course be its own thing, and they'll have their own scores.
Yeah.
So it's I look forward to more of these stories. I hope they keep delivering it, I hope they just really try to make a good product,
Right.
Because I just
I love The Force Awakens. I love this one.
I do too.
I mean, they have built a lot of trust, I think, back into the fan base. I can't see them letting us down. I just can't.
No, it's too much money on the line.
It's too much money, and Disney, say what you want about big bad Disney, they're smart.
Yeah,
they protect their properties. And they're not. This is a profit industry, and so they know that to make profit, they have to make quality. And Disney has always been about quality. You go to the theme parks, quality,
which is coming, with Star Wars Land and all that. I mean, get inside of a Millennium Falcon,
right? Any Disney movie, quality. Aladdin, a Lion King. I mean, they take so much pride in what they do. The fact that they have Star Wars, I feel great. And
good on them for not putting their castle in front of the Star Wars, because people were like, no, blasphemy.
We got the Mickey Mouse, though.
We do.
One of the explosions, really? The Mickey Mouse ears in kind of the cloud. It just very briefly.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Of course, people catch that and be like, that's the devil. I knew it.
Yeah. But, they try to do that in all those movies.
Of course.
And I think it's fun. But
I miss the 20th Century Fox. I think you're always going to miss that. It's just classic. But, every time that Lucasfilm thing comes up, oh my gosh, people just...
Oh, it's goosebumps.
They're ready.
Yeah.
It's just so cool.
You're in for a ride.
Yeah. You're just living a great time. Like, every year you're going to get a Star Wars movie.
Right.
I don't know. Probably till 2020 or so, but still awesome. I mean, it's going to go beyond that, obviously, but because I forgot 2020 will be here before you know it. So.
Right, yeah, exactly.
But it's just crazy how I think, and you might recall this, just to wrap up the show, going back when Star Wars first came out and they concluded their trilogy. There was a lot of talk about prequels then, I believe.
The buzz was that there was 9 total. They started with 4, 5, and 6. Then they were going to do 1, 2, and 3, and then 7, 8, 9. I mean, they talked about that way back in the day.
That's crazy.
And then everything was dropped, and you heard nothing. And then, Lucas announces the prequels, and so then after the prequels, and he basically said he was done. You're like, well, geez, there's supposed to be a 7, 8, 9. What the heck? We're not going to get those, and now we are. So obviously, but yeah, even back then there was that buzz. We had no internet, we had none of that stuff.
Right. It's just so funny back then that it was just we're done.
Yeah.
And I mean, he did the Ewok spinoffs and all that, but it's just it's weird to see a young Mark Hamill in interviews.
Yeah.
When Star Wars is kind of fresh, he's like, yeah, George said, someday I can pass the torch to another Jedi and be like a Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
And I think he said at the time, George said it'd be like 2020 or something.
Yeah.
I was like, I got to check my schedule, but it's just so cool. Like, it's so awesome. I mean, Mark Hamill just must be having a great time. I mean, yes, he had to lose 50 pounds, but Oh my gosh, to be back in a Star Wars movie?
Right.
Like,
and he's a great talent, and he's also a fan, and
he is.
And he has a genuine joy doing what he does, and that really radiates through, when you see him on screen, you hear him talk about it, you follow his Twitter. I mean, this is a guy who just loves what he does. It's great.
My hope, literally hope, like we got to see Darth Vader be a badass.
Yeah.
Of course, Kylo Ren, he's a badass in his own right.
Yep.
I want to see Luke fight that way. I know Mark's up there in age, but they got to give us some of that, just playing like a game I just got. It was the new Battlefield game. I think it's called. It came out, Battlefront, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Battlefront.
Just being Luke there, like you can throw the Force at people. Like I want to see that so bad. And I hope they can pull it off. I hope he's not going to have like a small part like he did in The Force Awakens.
Yeah, I'd like to see him have a big role in this, at least the next 2 movies,
I don't
who knows what they'll do with him. My gut tells me they're going to kill him off at some point.
I know.
And part of me doesn't want that to happen because, I think it's an easy way out for the writing.
Predictable,
It'd be too predictable, and it's an easy way out. It's like challenge yourself in your writing, to keep this character, and what are you going to do with him?
Like Han Solo, that wasn't really predictable to me.
No, it wasn't that. No, I didn't think he would.
Until it went dark and he was on that bridge alone with his son. I was like, this probably isn't going to end well.
Right. Anytime you're standing on a bridge, with your bottomless pit right below you, someone's going down. And it's not going to be Kylo Ren.
Of course, I'm sure, like other people stretched it in their heads, we didn't see... we saw him fall, but we didn't see...
Didn't see him die.
But at this point...
We also saw a lightsaber go through him, so...
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
I know. It's like you want him to be alive, but yet it's like, it'd be dumb to bring him back, because how are you going to write that?
Leave him dead.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But yes. I mean, and it was a good death.
It was.
It was one of those that, you either liked it or you didn't. I don't like to see a character like that who you love and you idolize growing up. Bite the dust, but it was well done. Yeah,
it was. And so was this movie. And everyone listening to this, go see it as many times as you want. If you haven't seen it, sorry for spoiling it, but it's so worth it. Just go see it. And
it's worth it. The performances by each actor they're exemplary, very well done. That whole band of rebels, you liked them all, and so then, it was hit even harder when you lose them on screen.
Yeah.
It was cool.
It was very hard. Yeah. But I wanted it to be that way because you want to feel sadness for this team that we lost, and A New Hope, you kind of are with the universe, like this tragic thing happened.
Yep.
Now there's hope. And it just really flows. It flows well. And I'm probably going to see... My goal is to see it again.
Yeah.
Hopefully this weekend, and then right away go home.
Watch Star Wars.
Maybe I'll go pick up the Blu-ray on Star Wars because they sell them individually now, and just put that sucker in and
get it on Blu-ray. It's worth it.
Yeah, I think I want to. Hopefully Santa will bring me some.
There you
money.
go. Yeah.
But with that said, thanks for listening, and check us out on Twitter, Podbean, Facebook, YouTube, and iTunes. fieldofgeeks.com. Steve also has a great comic blog, Steve's comicblog.com. Are you going to be doing a review of this at all in there, you think?
I think I am. Obviously comics are the focus, but, I'm going to start doing more TV stuff, movie stuff. And, once I see it the second time, then I'm going to put some thoughts down and,
cool.
And because I want to make sure I can just recall it better.
Yeah,
as old
same
guys
here.
Need to see it twice. But
maybe we'll do a part 2 of this.
Maybe, right?
Over I didn't see that. I get it now.
Right.
Anyway, thanks for listening. May the Force be with you. I'm Josh.
I'm Steve.
Take care.